Come in, the water's fine, buddy.
I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife, have several military-grade babies, and raise our Swiss mountain dog Clovis. Welcome to Wild Homestead. No, no. Can you guys see the bend in the pipe here? I don't think it would have interrupted with water flow, but it's definitely not ideal. Clovis, doing the water test. Pray to the water gods. Water! That's 15 feet down. So what does that mean? We're hitting water at 15 feet. So there should be 3 more feet to the end. Big old head on Clovis. Big old head, big blockhead. Guys, it finally came in. This is the Fiskars, I believe it's an X27. It's an 8-pound splitting maul. This thing is the same weight as a sledgehammer, a standard sledgehammer. This is far and away the most recommended splitting maul that I have seen in the comments on YouTube. So we eventually went for one. We'll see how it works. Holy cow, this thing's heavy. Nice. Nice. This thing is a beast.
That is a beast of a splitting maul.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. No.
Whoa! Wow!
Nice.
You know what, guys? The Fiskars is definitely doing a little better, but it's still gnarly. Like, I've probably taken 25 strikes at this. I think what it is the maple just has a lot fewer. Oh, hello. Oh, the maple just has a lot fewer branches. And look, just this one piece of white spruce, just branches everywhere. I think this adds a lot more structural rigidity to the 16-inch piece. Okay, so I just got some water from the communal spring. I was coming back. I thought I'd take a little bit of wood from out at the road. So the reason I've stacked it like this so far is that this row is essentially, this wood was just split, you know, about a month ago. This row and part of this row was split about 6 months ago into the 16-inch rounds, and then split into firewood, you know, just recently. Hey there, buddy. Hey there, buddy. And then now we're starting to stack the stuff that's been out at the road in my driveway since last summer, the leftover stuff. So the rest of the stuff, we might do one more row like this, and then I think we're gonna change it up and do something different. We're also gonna modify the woodshed a little bit. That's just the explainer of why I'm doing it like this. I think it's gonna dry a lot faster, like especially this stuff that was only cut about a month ago.
Hello. Oh.
Many people know Alfred the Great, the only English king to have the moniker the Great bestowed upon him. I've talked about him here before on Wild Homestead. The only English king to survive the Viking invasions of the 800s AD, survived in Wessex and slowly crawled his way back. You know, by the end of the 800s, there were basically only 4 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of these Germanic peoples that had invaded the British Isles after the fall of Rome. Starting out, there was probably close to a dozen. Kent, Sussex, Wessex, Essex. By the late 800s, there was only 4. Northumbria in the north, centered around York. There was Mercia, which historically was the most powerful of them all, essentially in western England, western central England. There was Wessex in the south, and then East Anglia in the east. Alfred, King Alfred, and his son Edward managed to basically cobble together Wessex and East Anglia and a big chunk of Mercia. And when Athelstan took over, he was able to basically fully unify those 3, as well as drive the Vikings out of Northumbria. He conquered Northumbria in the Battle of York, and really that was the stronghold, had always been the stronghold of the Danish Vikings in the British Isles, and was the first time that all the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms had become united under a single ruler.
So Athelstan is very famous for accomplishing that feat. But of course, as soon as he unified these four kingdoms, there was an enormous major challenge to his rule and to the unity of these English kingdoms together. And that happened in the Battle of Brennenburg. So the King of Scotland, Constantine II, you had the King of Strathclyde. Strathclyde was an old Brittonic Celtic kingdom that kind of resurged at this point. And then you had the King of Dublin, or basically he was the King of Ireland at that time. He was a Norwegian Viking named Olaf Guthrifson. Dublin was actually founded by the Norwegian Vikings. So these three kings got together and they said, we can't have this Athelstan ruling over all the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. He could end up conquering all the British Isles. So they three combined their forces in northern England in the year 937 AD. And there was a massive battle, possibly the biggest battle in terms of number of participants up to that point in British history. And we don't have a lot of details exactly what happened in the battle. It was an all-day, one-day, all-day affair. And right at the end of that day, the English under Athelstan broke through and ended up killing thousands of the allied armies of Ireland, Scotland, and Strathclyde, and it was a total rout. It was a total victory, and it really secured Athelstan's new collection of Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, the first version of what is now known as modern-day England. So Athelstan may be one of the other kings, only other English kings that may have deserved the moniker the Great, as his grandfather Alfred the Great.
I think that's probably good. I think we're probably good, Clovis. Don't eat the rock. Clovis, don't be weird. Don't be weird. What? What is that?
Honestly, guys, you tractor owners out there, is this normal to have these issues with a brand new tractor? I mean, we're coming up on 50 hours of operation, but this does not seem normal to me, man. The hydraulic loose lines being loose. If this is a fuel leak, having a fuel leak like this, yeah, I did pay basically only 50% of what the list price is. But I mean, it's still a big amount of money. And just because it was half off doesn't mean it shouldn't work properly. Listen, I may or may not have been a mail order husband at one point in my life. Sometimes we were 50% off with free shipping and free returns. And guess what? For those ladies that bought me when I was 50% off, I still performed. 9 feet. Oh. We're hitting at 12 feet. Do you guys hear that? 12 feet down. This is 20 feet. So 12 feet down, we still got another 8 feet. Yeah, so that wellhead should be well in there. Okay, now we took a big risk by sinking the well here, because who knows if there was going to be water there, right? But I felt that we hit water there. That was the first logical place to try, as the suggestion by the well wizard. Hit water there. Water table's too high. Come up here. Also makes it easier to dig the trench over. Also hit water there. So why not? I mean, there was a comment from a fellow, I believe in Alaska. The ideal position for your well is actually right beneath your bathroom addition. So I'm like, why not, man? Let's do it. So that paid off. Thank you to that fellow from Alaska. And now the key question. What is the wellhead like? We're going to blow it out with water, try to create a cistern around there, and then try to pump it out and see what our flow rate is. A few people suggested putting PVC pipes around the wellhead to kind of, I guess, separate the dirt off. The well wizard in town, I asked him about that, and he said he would not do that, because the problem with that is it might keep the dirt away, But the problem is that it also impacts the water flow from recharging around the well tip. The reason we didn't put that well in with the tractor is that this slope is way too treacherous right now. I don't know where we're going to try to build a road down. I think the gentlest slope is somewhere over there, but just can't get the tractor down there right now. Okay, Clovis, pray to the well gods that this goes right. Whoa! Oh! We got some. So the well wizard didn't exactly say what was going to happen. He just said, do it for like a couple minutes. He said that should blow out both the sand point, if there's any gunk stuck in there, as well as kind of create a cavity. But I don't know if it's actually going to start shooting up the sides. Oh man, that's some serious pressure in this line. I hope this doesn't like explode. Really does feel like Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. Whoa! Okay guys, the next test is the most critical of them all, because if this doesn't work, it means the sandpoint well method is just not going to work as a water source at all. And we're going to have to go to method number 2, which is likely going to be a heated pipe all the way to the river. Okay, we swapped it out for the rigid intake pipe. I realized that collapsible pipe, as soon as you get suction, it just collapses on itself. That can only be output. Oh, here we go, baby. I just did the tape measure test. We got water at 8 feet. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's a leak in one of the pipes. But man, we torqued them. We torqued them all. We even torqued them after, you know, getting each section down. Guys, can you see that? The water is right there. It's primed right to the top. Let's try the pump one more time. Super weird, guys. Super weird. So we got water after, you know, priming it with the hand pump to get the water up. Water literally up to the top. Got water primed in the intake hose, got water primed in the pump itself, and it just won't start pumping. The hand pump is just super anemic. It's like barely coming out. Guys, that's so bizarre. Look, it's primed. That's primed. This is primed. Look, there's water right there into the top of the pipe. Okay, folks, checking to see if the pump even works. At this point, maybe it's something wrong with the pump. Do not try to hook up the hose while it's running. Let me just say that. But we're going full blast in here, guys. We got good pressure. Clovis approves. So let's blast her out for a few minutes here and see what happens. Whoa! Water is literally right up to the top of the pipe. Whoa, guys. Fascinating. I don't know if you could perceive that, but it basically got down to that point in that barrel. The hose became fully pressurized and then it stopped flowing. You could tell the pipe, the blue pipe, started getting fatter and fatter and fatter. I thought it was going to explode. So that means the flow could no longer go down. So there's something that's blocking it at the end. Or at least it's not moving anywhere. So maybe that's why we also have no section up, because it can't, the water also can't go down. Okay. I wonder if this is going to spray everywhere. Whoa! Guys, that was nuts. It exploded. That's how much pressure was down there. It's not moving. I wonder if that sandpoint tip is clogged. That was very interesting information. We just learned from that that little experiment with the pressure, with the pipe almost exploding, the coiled pipe. So I thought, I'm looking at the box again. Both the boxes, it shows this 80 mesh. And so I was Googling around, and apparently these sandpoint well tips are commonly offered in 80 and in 60. And 80 mesh is finer, so it filters out more sediment, but it also lets less water through, and it's more likely to get clogged. So the well wizard did not tell me anything about this. Maybe because they have nothing other than 80 sandpoint wells there. So I checked on Amazon. Amazon does have another commonly found one, which is 60 mesh. So I just did some chat GPTing, and apparently if you're having problems getting clogged, you can try a 60 point mesh, because the 60 mesh will have higher water flow. Oh, hey, okay, go. Ooh, guys, great news. We're back in stock on the WOLFMILK coffee bags in the US. We're not going to launch quite yet, though. We're trying to get our Canadian roastery online before we relaunch in the United States. And we just had the roastery we'd been lining up for a number of weeks in Canada. We can't roast with anymore. They just determined that the kind of volume we're probably going to be doing
is going to overload their system. They just can't do it. We've found a good roasting partner for the European Union, in the Netherlands, in Australia, in the United States, but none for Canada. Like, my sister's been doing the full court press on this. We have not been able to find a roastery. So if you are a coffee roaster in Canada and you can roast our beans for us, or you know a person who owns a roastery, please do DM me on Instagram, the WOLFMILK COFFEE on Instagram. Send me a DM there. Okay, dude, so there's the sand point. There's still water right at the top of the pipe. It's gotta be clogged. It's gotta be clogged. Oh my, Clovis. All I can say is that failure is information, folks. Dude, jam-packed. Completely. What is that? That is super. Is that sand or clay? I wonder when we blasted water down there, nothing was happening. And look at the bottom of this pipe. But that's fascinating information, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I was taking these pipes apart, even though we were using the excavator to hammer these things down, all the joints were fine. None of them had. So I'm looking on the internet. So the Sandpoint well that I ordered yesterday night was a 60 mesh. That's going in the wrong direction. That's going to allow more particulates in. We need something that's finer, because we got a ton of water down there, but the particulates are, I don't know if it's fine sand or fine clay. So I'm going to go into town to talk to the well wizard and see what he says, because I can't find any 100 mesh. We need mesh that is a higher number, which means it's finer, which means it should filter out more particulate. Back from town, talked to the well wizard, and also lost the tractor. The dealership came to pick up the tractor just now. They hauled it away with the bombalite, so they're going to do the 50-hour service. We were close enough. We were at like 40-some hours, and they're going to give me the new unit, so the tractor's going to be back on Monday.
Oh no. Holy bejeebus. So to try to get this stuff out, even with using the drill, the stuff on the sides is just caked on. It's literally like cement. We can't thread a coupling on this anymore. But even if we were able to get it out of the top, like where my drill bit can't reach, like the rebar does nothing. It can't even punch down through this stuff. Guys, I literally cannot believe it. I called back to the hardware store. The hardware store where we got the first 2 sand points is the only hardware store in town that actually has these well tips. They're sold out of the 60 and the 80 micron mesh tips. So I'm like, oh, who's gonna have it? So there's this random hardware store that's about an hour and a half away. I've been to twice before. I call them just on a chance if they had one. Not only do they have a Sandpoint well tip in stock, it's 100 microns, which is exactly the one we need, because 100 microns, the bigger the number gets, the finer the mesh is.
Clovis! We are successful, Clovis! Yes! Oh, praise Odin. Praise Odin.
Guys, this is the old tip. It's like concrete on the side. Got off the phone with the well drilling company. So I had spoken to them earlier. They had come out and looked at the site in the summer, and they're coming back up in both September and October to drill more wells. So the guy said, I told him, I was trying to sink a Sandpoint well tip as well. And he said the issue with your area is that in the first 50 to 75 feet, there is extremely fine sediment. And that for drilling the traditional type of cased wells, which is what they do, that they're commonly used screens at the bottom of a well will get clogged. So even though the water table is very high, he's like, they have to go down at least 50 to 75 feet before they get to that coarser sand and or gravel where you can reliably get clog-free water suction. I also asked him, like, well, what if I put down a casing, like a PVC casing around my Sandpoint well tip to keep the sand away from it? He said the problem with that, the Sandpoint well tip, that 3 feet, needs to be deeper than a PVC casing to have enough water flow. So he said if the particulates are so fine that they're still going to be getting through the grate on your Sandpoint tip, he said that's not going to be a solution because it's still going to get clogged. If not immediately, then over time. I think there's one more thing we can try with this 100 mesh screen. So let's go try it.
Oh yeah, Clovis. Oh yeah.
Okay, folks, so that was just a test with a completely uninhibited well point tip, how much water flow. It flowed really nicely through there. So now that we know what it should look like if it's not impeded, we'll go to the next step. Hey, Clovis, don't drink that. That's dirty water. That's dirty frog water, man. Go, go. Oh, yes! Yes! Okay, it's working. Heck yes. Whoa! Guys, I just twisted it a half turn and something released and all of a sudden the water's coming up like... Guys, it's filling up over there. It's also filling this hole up. That's bonkers. Whoa! Put water. I filled the hose with water. It spat all that out, so it's got suction up there. It's just, there's no suction at the bottom, which is bizarre. Like the guy from the well drilling company said this morning on the phone, maybe it is just, you got to punch down like 50 to 75 feet here. It's just not, it's not the right kind of sediment. So I think the last thing we can try, Sans tractor, is drill down. Oh, we got 2 more pipe segments. As another recommendation from the well wizard on a potential obstacle we might face is if we're trying to blast out, you know, sediment down the pipe after putting it down further, if it's stuck and just the pressure from the pump is not doing it, said use 3/4 inch poly pipe that fits inside of this, inside here, just like that. And then the idea is to take this hose and adapt it for this 3/4 inch poly pipe. Unfortunately, you know, I asked for a recommendation on adapters. What I didn't realize is that we actually needed a female to male adapter, and we got a female to female. So it's not going to work. We're going to need this weekend to get the proper adapter for this. I'm going to have to think about what we do next, because if we do the pipe to the river, we're going to have a pump house right beside the river, solar powered, and then it's going to be somewhere between 350 and 400 feet, depending on how direct we can get it there. A minimum of 350. Just as the bird flies, using my GPS mapping software, it's literally the closest point's 350 feet away. But if we're going, say, here, and then changing direction and going over, it could easily be 400 feet. It's $10 a foot for the conduit, and then it's $500 or $600 for the hardware. Yeah, buddy. Let's go. This guy's out of batteries. Aha! Whoa. The main house cabin site is going to be straight over there. That's the peninsula. And then the forest gym is right over here. That's where the cliff is. It's a nice little loop. It's a natural game trail that I've just widened.
we're going to be able to hunt with our bow basically from October 1st all the way through until mid-December. So that's pretty sweet. That's a long time. The gun season is only about 10 days long in the beginning of November. In Ontario, hunting's very regulated. So you have to get a hunting license. So I took a 2-day course. Then you have to get at least 80% on the test, which I did. Then you buy your license every year. And then when you want to hunt a certain species, in this case, we're going to be going after white-tailed deer, you have to buy a tag. Now, if you can buy a tag or not, or how many tags, is determined by what wildlife management unit you are in. So I was just showing those kind of like maps to you guys, and the entire province is split up into about 85 different wildlife management units. And these wildlife management units, the Ministry of Natural Resources, every year, every other year, every 3 years, whatever it happens to be, will do a census of all the big game species, moose, deer, elk, wild turkey, etc. And then they will determine in every wildlife management unit, generally, how many tags they can issue for every species, basically determining what is the sustainable rate of harvest. Hunting in Canada, I'm sure it's the same in the United States as well. It's regulated for, intended for acquiring meat, for eating, wild game. Like you by law have to remove all the meat from the animal and then take it with you. You also can't sell wild game meat into the market economy. You can only keep it yourself or give it to others. So it's all oriented around that. I don't know a single other person who is interested in hunting or is a hunter who wants to do it for any reason other than acquiring, meat. Do you want to harvest like a large animal or like an animal with big antlers as well, as getting your meat supply? Sure. But the core reason why people hunt in North America, the ethos and the law, is all around acquiring meat. In terms of animal ethics, I'm actually convinced at this point in my life that hunting wild game in a country like Canada, where it's highly regulated and it's very sustainable, is actually the most ethical way for a human to get meat. If you think about how a wild deer might perish in the wilderness, it's not very pretty. There are no old folks' homes for wild white-tailed deer. Generally, they are going to starve to death. They're going to get some disease and slowly die from that. They're going to freeze to death in the winter. They're going to be ripped apart while they're still alive by a predatory animal like a gray wolf, a coyote, a mountain lion, a black bear, etc. They don't go out in pleasant ways. So if you compare how they die in the wild to how they would get harvested by a human hunter, with a bullet or with an arrow, it's actually I would say, a much cleaner death, a much quicker death. When you take the hunting course here in Ontario, what they teach you is that all mammals do not have nerve endings in their lungs. So that is how a hunter is trained to harvest an animal. You always go for a double lung shot from the side. So your arrow, your bullet's going through both a deer's lungs or a bear or a moose, whatever it happens to be. And they bleed out very quickly. It causes massive blood loss. There are no nerve endings in the lungs. Obviously, it's not a painless experience, but in terms of like bleeding out very quickly, we're talking a couple of minutes or even sometimes seconds, because when you do a double lung shot, you have the probability of actually clipping the animal's heart. So if you do the double lung and the heart, my goodness, that animal is going to go out very, very quickly. So really, an animal getting a double lung shot from a hunter, that is a much quicker and cleaner death than the way that they usually die in the wild.
Oak tree. Whoa. It's being nibbled down like crazy. We got to get some protection around that guy. Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I almost did not release this episode this week because I felt like we were just spinning our wheels. But you know what? Sometimes life is not linear in one direction. So I thought I'd share the struggles, critical information from the guy at the drill company that our geology in this area may not be conducive for a sandpoint well. However, I think there's one more trick up the sleeve we got from the well wizard, which is to blast it out from the inside with the 3/4 inch poly pipe, which we'll be doing first thing next week. If that doesn't work, we're going to have to go to option B, which is piping in from the river, or option C, which is getting a well drilled, which is what we were going to originally do next spring when we're starting on the main cabin on the peninsula overlooking the river. But maybe we're just going to have to move that up to now for this bathroom addition on the guest house. Really happy to hang those trail cameras back up with fresh batteries and salt licks to see if we can bring in more whitetail deer to the property. We're going to have to hang some tree stands in strategic spots and practice with our bow. Strength and honor to you all. May the gods bless you, both the old gods and the new. And remember, folks, if you ever find yourself employed as a mail order husband or a mail order bride, and you arrive at your customer's house only to discover that they did not order you because of true love, but simply because you were 50% off with free shipping and returns, don't complain, just do your job and utter the following 9 words and 7 syllables. Ooga, booga.